Hi, everyone. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Violeta Stoica. I'm a level 3 QHHT practitioner, currently located in beautiful Prescott, Arizona. And I am here with you today to talk about a session of one of my clients. But before I get into that, I want to tell you about QHHT a little bit. This method was created by the late Dolores Cannon, who passed away in 2014. And she was an amazing bright light that brought this technique to the world. And it's so empowering because it helps people find their own truth, their own inner wisdom, and their path in life. And that's why I created this lines of interviews called Find Your Path, to show the world how people, through what they found out in their sessions, they changed their lives. So with this said, I will just add that I have a background in nursing and a background in psychotherapy, and I went and did my classes with Dolores in 2010 and 2011. I am one of the fortunate practitioners that have met her in person, not once, twice, actually. And I've been a level 3 since 2021, 3 years now. And I love my work, and I'm so grateful to my clients that are so open to share their experiences with these kind of sessions. These are very intimate, and I really, truly admire them for being that open and ready to talk and tell the world about their sessions. So allow me to introduce you to my client to you. His name is Thibodeau. I hope I pronounced it correctly. Ron, welcome to my YouTube channel and to today's interview. Please tell us about yourself a little bit.
Oh, thank you, Violeta. It's an honor to be here. I I'm French Canadian born. I grew up in the Boston area, and as a late teen, I think started to become a truth seeker by nature. That path, I grew up Catholic, like most French Canadians, I guess, and kind of drifted away from that. A series of events led me to jumping into the Mormon wagon train, and spent 28 years there. And I was actually a facility engineer at one of their temples, the one in Portland, Oregon. And while there, I started listening to Coast to Coast with the Art Bell back in the early 90s, and it started to, I guess you could say, wake me up a little bit, or maybe bring some things back to remembrance. And uh, eventually in '07, I moved here to the Prescott area, and I've taken through the course of expanding my understanding about life. I took some training over the course of time. I did a little remote viewing with Major Ed Dames, took reconnection healing training, been to, lots of seminars and things. So pretty open-minded, I think. If I were going to become a blogger someday, maybe I would call it myself the New Age Redneck. Probably as good as any.
I like that name.
Yeah, so as you know, we just had our session together and not too long ago, a week or two prior to the one I did with you. I did one with another practitioner. Um, Got curious about doing that through the course of all the things that I've researched, and it's pretty fascinating, and certainly opened up a lot of can of worms.
Thank you so much for introducing yourself. So now let's get to business. we had our session maybe 2 weeks ago, I think. So I would like for you to tell the audience, how was it for you? What did you learn about yourself in that? Because this is the main scope of QHHT sessions, is for every client to learn about themselves. So please share. Feel free.
Well, hmm. I've had a few, I guess, mysteries or missing times or things in my life that I completely couldn't categorize, I guess you could say. Um, and so I think being able to uh, connect with the higher self like that, I felt the session that we had together, it was 3 hours of some really mind-blowing stuff, information coming through, helping me to put some of the pieces of my puzzle together for my life and this life, and um, how past lives have all kind of culminated to this moment in what we call time. So
Yeah,
I don't know how much you want. I can go into some specifics or whatever you would like.
it's up to you. You have the mic.
All right. Well, pleased to meet you, Mike. Sorry, that
And
Bostonian
I
humor.
said, "Nice to meet you, Ron."
That Bostonian humor comes through too often. So, oh, where do we start? It
Let's,
was a pretty.
Ron, let's go with what did you feel was most impactful in the session? The actual purpose of this interview is you sharing with the world what you found out in the session.
Okay. So, um, okay, I'll give you the long answer to that. A little lead up for anybody that might watch. As a teenager, 18 years old, I was racing motorcycles and hanging around with a few crazy people. And in the course of that craziness, smashed my face really hard into the dash of a van, and it knocked me out, and I bled out, and uh, pretty, pretty hard impact. And a few days after that event, I had an encounter with a dark reptilian, and had no background, no reference for anything like that in my conscious awareness. So I just didn't know where to place that, and so just kind of moved on in life. But it was a real event. I mean, it wasn't a dream. It wasn't a figment of my imagination, because I had nothing to base it on. I mean, I at that time my family was, and still is mostly all Catholic. I was just doing my dirt bike thing, being a long-haired teenager. So um I wanted to know about that event. Uh and in the course of our session, I found out, so I guess I'll explain it in some detail uh in
Do.
what came out in the session. So the reptilian was there. um I found out that I had been being abducted since the age of 2, and it had happened 63 times, and that was the last visit that I had had with them. The purpose of the reptilian, they have a technology that's kind of a wand or a staff, and it kind of sucks your ethereal body out of your physical body, leaves the physical there sleeping in bed, and I was taken to a lab, an underground facility that was kind of large domed structure that was almost organic in nature, not like brick and mortar like we see in our world so much. Um, it was very traumatic as a young child because the transferring out of the body was felt really traumatic and painful almost, especially to the young child. And so I was really, it was kind of a bad memory experience for me at first. And so, but the session really helped it open it up completely. So I was able to really understand what was going on. The little grays were involved. They were kind of the technicians in these processes that they were doing. It happened a lot in my younger years, um, and faded less and less as I got older, apparently. And they would in the younger days, they put me on this like stainless kind of a table and do some things, and it was really traumatic. And in the course of the session, I understood that some of the reasons why it was traumatic as a 2, 3, 4 year old. Grays have zero empathy. It's just not even on their radar. And the reptilians, of course, are stinky. I think you asked me to describe it in the session. I referred to them as smelling like dead rats in a pool of dirty oil. That's what came out. It's pretty graphically horrible. So, but the reptilians, of course, are large. 8 feet, 7, 8 feet, and stinky and strong, and they have love and empathy. That kind of stuff's not in their radar either. So as a young child, I was really kind of traumatized and not understanding why or what, you know, just, but then we progressed through the session to see there was several other beings there, and found out that the Greys were basically acting as just, technicians doing these procedures, and the reptilian was mainly there to use this technology for the transference. But then there was a really what we came to see as a very loving, compassionate, kind of mother figure to me in the ethereal, called Iana, who was kind of the tall, slender, beautiful, three-fingered, almost translucent, very light-haired. I referred to her hair as kind of like if she had stuck her finger in the socket. It was just all like mine looked when I got out of the wind here shortly ago. Um, and then beyond that, and she's kind of my connection to, um, I guess, all of this that happened on the other side. And and then there was this being about 30 feet tall that was, I wish I was an artist and could draw it so I could show, but my mind's eye is just, incredibly, all-knowing, powerful, very sinewy, barely kind of physical, I guess is the best way to describe it. I think I described it as being kind of at the precipice of going into the non-physical realms of existence. I gave that being the term, the guardians, that they've been doing this process on evolving planets like ours forever since the beginning of duality and the God consciousness creation of it all. And so um, there was as this scene evolved in my mind's eye and memory, there was these pods that I called them that you just kind of got into, almost like floated in there, and it was like being surrounded by the universe, and the knowledge of everything just kind of poured into your being. And so the session was very helpful for me because it helped me understand some other, you know, traumas that have affected my life, a lot of physical injuries and things. But um, in the end, I saw it as an incredible thing that I'm a part of. It's a hybridization program. That's kind of what's going on. Realized that there was millions of beings that have this has happened to in this timeline on this planet. And so I think there's many out there that have probably experienced this. Maybe some can remember, some can't. And so I feel that's why it's important to get this out. The knowledge that and was in those pods was just, I came to realize through the session that it made coming back, even though the transition's difficult. After a while, the hardest transition was actually having to come back to this really dense, kind of dark, um, really difficult existence here. You know, I unfortunately, through the course of not just this session, but actually through um, a really incredible Vipassana retreat that I was having years ago, in the middle of bliss, discovered that I had a stark memory of being a victim of the whole Catholic pedophile thing going on in the Boston area in the 60s and 70s, and probably still today. So, um, there's just a lot of things in my life that were affecting me negatively that either I wasn't aware of, but um, what what initially, my inner child was really blocking these traumas of this whole kind of abduction thing. But in the end, I saw it as being a really fantastic not even opportunity, experience for those that have done it to be able to absorb, this is no better word for it, all of this universal knowledge and love and purpose, and then take it back to the physical side. And even though there's kind of that forgetful veil for a lot of us, me certainly, um, it's taken me, I'm 65 now, and just feeling like I'm just not coming to an understanding of what the hell's been going on in this crazy circus, right? So, um, I think that um, the incredible value of QHHT is to be able to get people to awaken to these things, because in the session, and even though I kind of knew this already, there's been purposeful blockage of people's memories and the spiritual connection that we have to the universe, to God, whatever you want to call it, so that we can be kept right dumbed down and controlled and manipulated. And that manipulation word, it's something that sits really raw with me because it happened a lot in my life, and I've been on the short end of that stick a lot. So, um, I feel like at 65, I'm just now coming. I finally got finally got the keys to the car, Dad. I'm going to learn to drive for real now. Right. So, going to be interesting to see where this path takes me now. So I hope that helps a little bit. I mean, there's other things that came out that we could talk about, but not so much germane to this. Was the really, um, the real expanding view experience I had, how so many things tie together, past lives, you know. Um, it A lot of people through dogmas, religion, churches, fears, and manipulation. Those are all fall under the manipulation category. Just may never understand uh, the absolute vastness of all that is out there and the beauty and the glory of it all, because it gets mired in dogma. Sad, but I think we're certainly in a very exciting time for humanity right now.
That's for
We,
sure.
yeah.
For sure, Ron. So thank you so much for describing your experience. Can I ask you for a little bit more details so our audience will understand better?
Yeah, you're very good at doing that.
Thank you. So tell us, what did you understand while you were in that lab under that dome that was organic? Where was the location of it? Was it on planet Earth or somewhere else?
Yeah, so I grew up in this town called Waltham, just 9 miles west of Boston. And I I felt like there was a block that I couldn't, even if I knew exactly where, I shouldn't say. Um, Hate to feed into that whole secrecy thing, but you know, I know that my gut tells me it's somewhere as close to Fort Devens, which is just another 20 miles further to the west, sort of. Um, that's kind of a secret army base. But that's
So
just
this
a guess.
is so this is what was your understanding in the session. This is where they took you not far from home.
Yeah, like I felt like there was many of these around the world. The subterranean.
Mm-hmm.
It came out in the session that what we view as solid Earth isn't so solid.
Yes,
Uh,
true.
so I don't know. I mean, this could be an energetic place that could be 100 feet below the surface or 100 miles below the surface. I
And
don't know.
it was very tall, the dome, because I remember the light being the guardians were very tall as well. As I remember, I asked you something like they are able to fit under that dome, the light beings, the
Oh yeah,
guardians.
this place was large. Like, I kind of, and it's funny because I actually have a thing for. I'm sitting right in the middle of where I'm going to build my house here on my property in Dewey, and uh, you know, my architectural designs, which I've come up with over the years, have always involved domes and arches, and
Interesting.
which makes it very difficult because when you want to do something, a passive solar, very efficient, very strong, very fireproof building. It's so different than what's being built by the masses because it's what they've been programmed to do because it's the most profitable for the powers that be. Makes it very difficult to find the engineer and getting the stamps for to make all the bureaucracy happen. So that's frustrating. But this dome was, oh, I'd have to say big. I mean, like probably uh, 300 meters tall, by that much wide, and there was a lot of other hybrids in there at the same time at different phases. So I remember being able to evolve the storyline, the timeline of this experience so that I could see it and seeing clear up into young adults, meandering around a lot of these pods, a lot of being, humans in various stages of development in these pods, getting this upload, I guess, or download, you could call it. But um, in the end, yeah, it was the connection I had to Iana and the Guardians was so profound, so loving. It really helped me get past the trauma of the initial childhood being
Mhm.
uh, sucked out of my body per se.
Thank you. And I want to establish that hierarchy that went on when you were on the table. You understood who everyone was and what were the guardians' purpose with you and with the rest of the people and under the dome.
Yeah, so the Guardians seem to be like the boss, the one really pushing the the whole process. So, I mean, the Greys and the reptilians were there almost like in paying back karmic debt, you might say. They were there, mm, how do you, by edict or almost, being subjugated to have to be doing what they were doing. The Yana, who was, like I said, maybe 8 feet tall or so, was, this beautiful hybrid kind of a being. She was like my maternal connection to all of this, and kind of my mother of of this whole hybridization process. Um, and interestingly enough, she we saw that there was a connection to her in an incarnation I had back in my French Acadian days when the Mi'kmaq natives saved the Acadian people, myself included. I mean, literally in another incarnation where I had this incredible uh, bond marriage and 3 children with this, beautiful uh, native that we called Iana, and so it was like she was an incarnation of this maternal connection in this dome, hybrid connection, and I was kind of my one of my ancestors. So very interesting how these timelines and past lives interconnect. And then the Guardian, yeah, was like as I said earlier, they've been doing this for since the beginning of time, on to help planets like ours get past this muddled period that we've been in for a few thousand years, at least, really longer on this planet, and finally step into the light.
So I remember you named those pods in the dome learning pods.
Yes, that's correct.
Mm-hmm.
They were an absolutely uh, life altering experience. It was like being plugged into the universe and just having this endless knowledge of of everything, everything coming into your understanding, and in a loving, incredibly God-centered, or loving-centered way. It was all great.
And do you have the understanding that you went into a pod every time they took you in the dome, or not every time? How was this going?
So yeah, that I don't think that really came out clearly in the session, but I got the impression that um So in the session, it came out that I was physically out of my body for anywhere around 6 hours per time, and it was 63 events. And I, I got the feeling that at first, from 2, 3 years old, it was mostly whatever technology procedural stuff was being done on those tables, and then kind of getting acclimated to the environment, kind of become becoming comfortable with the kind of social structure that was happening there, with getting to know everybody, you might say, right? Uh, Kind of starting a new job, getting shown where the cafeteria and the bathroom is, right?
Mhm.
So, um, but I think the pods were the main focus of being there. That's my feeling. Of course, I think there's always some social structure to things. I felt an incredible bond to Iana,
Mhm.
and uh, yeah, it's
Thank you.
just
And my next question is, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
yeah, it's just a shame that that information didn't come back 100% intact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And while you're there, your impression is that you got to meet everyone and maybe even connect, talk to them, and then you remembered them when you went back in all those 63 encounters. What's your
Yeah,
impression?
I think so. I think if I had the time and money to do endless sessions, or I guess I need to learn to do this myself, is to try to. I'm sure that there's probably some real close emotional bonds with some of those other beings, other humans that were there. So, and I think that probably explains sometimes you meet somebody or see somebody, you really feel like, wow,
Mhm.
there's this connection, right?
Yeah, the familiarity, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm. Thank you. And one last question. I don't recall now from the session, but have we touched upon why they picked you? Because the general impression is that it wasn't a bad experience. Only the child felt it was traumatic, but in the end, we understood it was a good experience. But have we learned anything beyond your connection to Iana, to a certain race, to a certain a race? I
Yes.
want to say. Yeah.
Well, so, I remember you asking me in the session, this guardian, if it was part of the Palladians or other, terms, names that other planetary systems that we're pretty familiar with now. And the Guardian was so beyond any of that, it was just like way beyond coming. Because I remember saying that the Guardian was at one point in all of these other, the Palladians and the Syrians and the Arcturians, all of those, many of those other cultures, and many that we don't even know the names of, aren't aware of yet, that the Guardians were at one point in their evolution were there doing something fairly similar and helping them break through and get to the point where hopefully we as a planet are getting to, in the process of getting to now. So, but the why of why me, um, yeah, I've asked myself that question more than once about different things in life. Um, but you know, through a couple of the other session and also part of the session I had with you, I have discovered that I was um, a Knight Templar in the order back in those days. That I have been uh, kind of fighting in this great battle that I felt like I understood really clearly that's been going on forever in the universe and all of creation. This light against dark, good against evil, whatever term you want to use. Basically, there has to be the good and there has to be the bad. There has to be this opposition and everything, right? And
Mm-hmm.
and you kind of end up choosing sides after a while based on, I guess, whatever you're attracted to, whatever resonates with your level of frequency. And it seems that I've been rather active in the battle for the side of light and God, love. And so I was thrown into this life, into a very, very Catholic environment, and probably one of the most pedophilic environments in the Catholic Church, and suffer the consequences of it. Still suffer the consequences of it, I suppose. But to be able to, I guess, be thrown into the fire and come out on the other side alive and still fighting and knowing that I'm winning the battle, right?
Mm, that's
So
beautiful.
that's, where the rest of my life will take me. I can't really say. But it's really important to understand where we've been so that we can know who we are and what our purpose is. And I think my purpose is to help more souls um, understand the game that's being played on this planet, nefarious in so many levels, and to rise above it and become victorious and you know climb into the true purpose of why we came here spiritually.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And speaking of that, what are your future projects? You said about that redneck um, thing. Are
Yeah,
you?
new age redneck.
Yes, yes.
Well, I'm trying to stay focused on getting this house built. It would be very good for my marriage if I did that. So that's kind of high on my physical priority list. Um, but I just can't shut the light switch off to this constant desire and hunger to, So, I'll be seeing you at the QHHT reunion in Sedona in a little while, and yes, a lot of other practitioners. I would like to become a practitioner. Somehow I'll have to see
That
how
would
I
be
can.
amazing.
Somehow I'll have to see if I how I can fit that into you know, get away from my John Deere tractors for a while.
So I would really love you to become a practitioner. We need more men that are so open and help other men that are kind of shy right now and they don't want to talk about these things yet. So I really welcome you and encourage you to pursue this path if that feels true to your heart, of course. But we need more men. And speaking of that, is there an advice that you would like to give men nowadays in our modern age, so to speak?
Hmm.
Not so modern if we think of the aliens and the technology you saw, but
Well, it's funny. So, as we live less than an hour from Sedona, and I was just there yesterday with my stepdaughter and her husband and a good friend of theirs, a good friend of, becoming a friend of mine. They're all like world class musicians, and the so I want to take them to Sedona and show them around some of the sites and stuff. And um, so the one musician, world class banjo player, just turned 44, and and I'm 65, and then my stepson's in his 30s, and just within that little bit of a social structure, I can see the difference and um, manhood, shall we say? I don't particularly like the direction I see a lot of young males taking, but I guess that comes from being who I am. I mean, I've worked oil fields, I've driven fuel tankers, I've been in the military. I was a flight engineer on Chinook helicopters in the 101st Airborne. Um, and through the course of these sessions, I discovered, and this will be for another day, that I was probably because of this whole hybrid program that I was tied into, that I was a pretty good candidate and was sucked into the 20 and back program, which unfortunately is a much darker experience than this hybridization program. So that's going to be for another day. But I I don't know. I'm quite an anomaly I finding in life because I'm very open to understanding everything. But I still probably my greatest passion in life is moving dirt around here on my acreage and getting my hands dirty and unfortunately having to fix stuff and get greasy um and I think that's, we need to. You asked me about what's going to happen on this solar eclipse that all the hubbub's about this April 8th, and there probably will be something happen just because there's so many insane psychopaths out there. But in the end, we are still in a physical existence, and that's not going to change anytime soon. And so we still need to, you know, work hard. Things don't get done without, work and understanding. Somebody had to build the home that you live in and fix the plumbing and the electrical and build the computer and the car that you drive. So physical talents and abilities, are just as important as waking up spiritually. I see both ends of the spectrum, and I accept both ends. I've been to a lot of sweat lodges in Sedona with a friend there, and you know, rubbed shoulders literally in the sweat lodge with the bliss bunnies, the Sedona fairy types, and there's no wrong to any of it, but I think that we do need to remember that we've got to care for our loved ones, um, and protect them and nurture our youth, be good parents. I raised 6 kids, and that's a challenge you don't understand unless you've done it. So if you've never done it, don't tell those that are doing it how to do it. So that's it.
Thank you very much, Ron. That was very beautiful. Thank you so much for coming for this interview and being so open and sharing your experiences. And I look forward to that program that we touched just a little bit. I forget the name of it, something with 20.
Oh, the 20 and back program.
Yes, 20 and back program. Yeah, I look forward to that in the future. Thank you so much for being here with me today. Thank you everyone for watching. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel and hit the bell to get notified when I get new videos. Thank you for now. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you.